The folks over at Dragonfire Studios reached out to us, and they were like, "Hey, do you guys want to try out a demo of our game? It's a visual novel style game that is heavily inspired by both Japanese and Western animation styles. My name is Ian Newfield. I live at 37 Allen Street, Palamo Heights, Tri-State 86572, and I'm a cybersecurity engineer at Daikon Industries. But you may have already known that. If you found this recording, in the message that follows, I will speak the truth, and nothing but the truth. Which means, I speculated, we weren't hacked. Somebody got to it from the inside. It wasn't common knowledge around the office, more like a rumor that Mike had hacked Daikon before he was hired. In fact, that was the reason he was hired to begin with. It was a classic story in our field of work. Skilled coders probing for exploits and holes in the code of a company's website or product, then sending the owners their findings for a reward, or in this case, a position in the company for their useful skills. My home looks like shit! Hold on. Wait. I closed the door behind me as I rushed into my apartment, panting. I locked twice and removed my suit's jacket and pants so fast that practically jumped out of them. Yeah, that's what I do when I get home from work, man. Like, suit off, jump into straight into the shower. You wash it off. Give me a moment, you guys. Hold on. I'm gonna save first. Save file chapter 1. Ooh. Alright, I'm gonna save right here. Give me a bit. I'm gonna be right back. I need to go. Call of nature. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. Okay, and we're back. Just had to, take a little something. I made myself some tea, aside from going to the bathroom. But now we're back. Now, where were we? Okay. I think I read this part, didn't I? No. All of my clothes went flying at the bed. Even though I was in a hurry, I stopped to marvel at how messy and dirty the place where I lived was. Yeah, you kind of live in a dump, my dude. Dust had turned to dirt on the floor over the days. Weeks and months, the walls were stained from leaky pipes. The dishes had been left untouched in the sink for weeks on end. The room's air was hot like lava, and the only thing resembling air conditioning barely worked. Not even when I first rented the place. I can relate to this right now. Like, at the point of recording this, my air conditioning broke, so the room is so goddamn hot. If you can hear a little bit of the fan noises, that's what we're using. I apologize for that, but you gotta make do with what you gotta do. So, a fan in the ducts must have broken. It's always produced this distracting sound when it was on, but I couldn't be bothered to talk to the landlord to fix it. Yeah, see? Even he has the same problem. I relate to this guy. The only thing that was pristine and in perfect condition was my computer and its screens. Turned on all day, every day. I was lousy on keeping up with the cleaning the apartment, with the sole exception of being this rig. I relate more and more to this guy the more he talks about his room. My computer and my rig is the only thing that's maintained. Someone might be wondering why I lived in such an apartment when at the same time I worked at a high-profile company like Daikon Industries. A top-class coder was always well paid. The truth was, as simple as anyone's guess. For financial reasons, the Tri-State was one of the most expensive places to live on Earth. Money was always tight. Ah, the grind, yes. I really did yearn to live in a better place, more befitting of my income. But it was simply unfeasible. My salary was generous, but even so, most of it went towards helping with the family, and I couldn't have it any other way. Oh yeah, he has a sister, right? He was talking about his sister in the intro. It was time to sit on the uncomfortable chair that I had to learn to be comfortable in, and perform the exact same safety check that I'd done in my work computer at the office. Dude, are you me? Because you're saying all of these things, like you have a chair that it's not comfortable and you're trying to be comfortable in. This is my chair. Look, like if you can listen, you can hear the chair squeaks like crazy. I relate to this guy so hard right now. I didn't think at this time anyone could have snuck into my apartment, but I did anyway. Hardware, nothing suspicious. Software, fine. For the first time today since I learned of the leak, I could take a small breath and let go of some of that tension. There was nothing more I could do for the situation at work at the present moment. It was time to check on my emails. Everything was more or less as I'd left it. Mike had sent an email about work, which I could reply to if I wanted. A couple of days ago, I cleaned up my inbox, deleting hundreds of unread and read emails. I regretted deleting them though, since it's in my written history one way or another. On the upside, the empty inbox looks somewhat like a clean slate for me. So that was refreshing. Dude, you clean your inbox, guys. Like this is just a little PSA for all of you. Clean your inbox. Spam tends to get really annoying, and it tends to clog up and slow down your browser. So might as well, you know, just clean up your inbox. It's PSA from Pupcat Games. After glancing at my emails, it was time to start taking the planned precautions. I started transferring documents and files such as work logs, notes, and history of the encryption versions and patches into 2 identical sticks. The first stick was going to stay here in my home. I needed those files to be stored someplace away from my computer. You never know what could befall your machine, I guess. The second stick I was to give to someone I trusted for safekeeping, and I knew exactly who it was going to be. As the transferring process began, I could lay back and relax, or try to. I didn't have much time to spend in my apartment. I had somewhere to be in a couple of hours. Oh, look at this place. What is this? The hospital? The window was open, a gentle, welcome summer breeze flowing into the room. The scent of chlorine and cleaning products was strong, pervasive, and made my nostrils twitch. Ew, I felt that in real life. It wouldn't seem to go away even with the window open wide. Every inch of this place was thoroughly scrubbed clean, every day. The nurse had recognized and greeted me earlier. We had a short talk and she let me through. I didn't see her in bed. Somehow, a small smile managed to find its way to my lips. "Vivi," I called out. "Are you hiding again?" Oh shit, oh, she's so cute. She's a little sheriff badge and everything. Aw, that's cute. Hold on, hi! Vivi popped in front of me out of nowhere. She must have been hiding from behind the door to surprise me. I had to encourage the naughty little game she liked to play. It was one of the few joys she had in this place. When she smiled, I smiled. "Hey," I said. "Where were you hiding this time?" "That's a secret, big brother." She suddenly hugged me. I put my hand on her hood and held her head on my chest. It warmed my heart to see her still smiling, still lively. I let go of the hug. "You feeling fine?" "I'm okay. Leg is better. I take the injections now. Ew." "But the pain's better, right?" I asked. "Yep, sure is." I felt a weight being lifted off my chest. My sister had been afflicted by chronic pain on her leg's bones for years now. It was mild at first, but getting worse and worse every year, and always unrelenting. Oh, I feel so sorry for her. "So, I can't go home?" She knew she couldn't go home. This was something we both had to learn to live with. My sister had been trapped in a hospital room for years. She attended school classes through a monitor, her laptop, and could barely leave hospital grounds because of the stiffness in her leg. It seemed like a miracle to me how, despite all that, she could stay positive, and she could still smile. She was even more positive than I was. I hated having to tell her no. "I'm sorry. That's not a possibility yet." Or, "That's not possible yet," I managed to say. "You still need your physiotherapy, and the doctors are always near you here, in case of an emergency or the symptoms progressing." It had started from the bones of her foot and worked its way up her kneecap, but had stopped there for a good long while. Physiotherapy had only stalled the pain, and the injections were just a local anesthetic, means to manage the problem, not cure it. In other words, she seemed dejected only momentarily. She probably already knew the truth from the nurse. "That's all right," she said. She understood. I uncovered my mouth, looked out the window. A heavy knot weighed down my throat and my eyes burned. I hoped she wouldn't notice. Funny how she's the stronger one, I thought, looking at her smile. That's why I had to do my best at work. I had to provide Vivi with everything she could conceivably need. I had to find every possible way to make her life more bearable. She filled my life with meaning. Aww. This guy might seem like, just like a burned out salaryman or or a coder, but he really cares about his sister. Aww. As if she was reading my thoughts, she said, "How's work going?" "It's good," I said plainly, avoiding her eyes. Why can't you ever tell me more about it?" she pouted. "What's there to tell?" I chuckled. I go in, type some shit on the computer, and I get out. I didn't wish to talk about my work with my sister, especially after recent happenings. There was absolutely no reason to worry her with any of my problems. "Aw," she said. "Just wanted to hear a bit more about my genius bro." I chuckled again, a bit embarrassed. "Really, there's not much to it. Speaking of work, hey listen, could you do something for me?" "Of course, anything. What is it?" I took the stick with my work files out of my pocket and gave it to her. "Here, keep it somewhere safe." "What's this?" "Some of my work files. Just hold on to them." "Ooh, may I look inside?" I shrugged. "Be my guest. You won't understand a thing, though." "Don't underestimate me," she teased, and I laughed. "I'll have you working beside me in a few years," I said, half jokingly, half filled with hope. My sister's movement may have been impaired, but if I could teach her to code, she could find a job to busy herself with, even in an environment such as the hospital. But I didn't really want to burden her with all that when her leg pain was prevalent. Perhaps sometime in the future. "All right," I said, somewhat with renewed vigor. Time I was going. "Aw," Vivi said. "Can't you stay a bit longer?" "It's getting late. I have some work to do," I said apologetically. "On the weekend, maybe. I'll have more time. I'll promise I'll stay longer then." "Okay," she smiled. "See ya!" "Be well. I'll get the nurse to get you some ice cream." "Yay! Love you, bro." Aww. Must protect that smile, goddammit! I'ma murder people if anything happens to her! My visit to my sister had eased my mind just a tiny bit. It was so nice to see her smile that I'd almost forgotten the troubles of my work that were eating away at me. Thoughts of the troubles returned the very moment I stepped into my apartment. It was late at night and I felt distressed and sick. I should have just gone to bed straight away, but I couldn't help it. The leaker, I thought, staring at my computer screen. They're somewhere out there. The person who did this is somewhere out there. The same urge I had to work to open the Turnip browser and search for the material resurfaced. Before I could resist it, I had a new thought. What if I could find out who it was that posted the leaks in the dark web? If it was posted on some forums, I'd look up the user and see what I could find. It was perfectly justified in a sense. I convinced myself this was a good enough reason to look for the leaks, and I did. For the next hour or so, I combed the sites I knew of in the dark web for signs of the Daikon Industries leak. Forums, databases, 5net, and other anonymous boards. I searched it all, skimming through dozens of topics and threads. Nothing was to be found. Not even a word of a Daikon Industries product. Like it hadn't happened at all. My boss had said his clients did their best to wipe any traces of the leak off the internet. Or perhaps I came across the leak and just didn't recognize it. Leaks of such kind weren't unheard of in the dark web, but it was just a product without any of our encryption. How would I even know? I had no idea what the product was to begin with. It seemed like my search was doomed from the start. I won't find any leads this way, I reflected. I sighed and got up from my chair. As I prepared to go to bed, I found myself wondering what kind of people were the clients of my boss were. Hold on, let me save. Let me save right here. Save. Save. We're gonna save right here. Number 2. Yeah. Oh, alarm. My first thought of the day when I woke up was quitting my job. Dude, you just related to a lot of people. Maybe that would be easier. The mess may have been too great to resolve anyway. I groaned as I got out of bed and started putting on my clothes. Quitting is a huge risk, I thought. There's a chance I won't find another job in time to pay the bills. Not to mention, no company in their right mind would hire me. Bauer would make sure that if I ditched him. I fixed my tie hastily and had a shot of coffee at home and ran out the door. You have to keep... Hey man, you gotta work. You gotta work, push through it. Yeah, your sister needs you, man. Protect that smile, and if you don't, I swear to God, I will kill you. Besides, I had a personal stake in this. I was in charge of security. Security that was compromised. I had to find out who it was and how it happened. Many of the people in the office had brought their coats and umbrellas with them, as last night's forecast warned of rain. I glanced at everyone around me as I walked towards the coffee machine we had on the counter. Today seemed like a different day. Everyone was on edge. This kind of reminds me of a story I should tell you. When I first, like, the very first job I applied for was to be a security engineer at a company. It's a pretty well known gaming company. I won't mention it here, but it was one of the first jobs I applied for, and I almost made it in, but yeah. When you're fresh out of college, the first job you get is usually pretty hard to get in. So this guy, probably in another life, this would have been me, minus the whole sister with leg thing. Today seemed like a different day. Everyone was on edge. Alright. As I turned on the machine for my customary second coffee of the day, I overheard some fellow coders talking about the new happenings. Voices all hushed and secretive. That caught my attention. Then there was the janitor, Andre, nearby. He was talking on the phone, so I focused my eyes on the machine that was making coffee and pretended to mind my own business. Oh wait, I have to what voice should I give Andre? Let him come live in Sharpton, I heard Andre saying. In a foreign accent! Oh shit, foreign accent, hold on, what kind of foreign accent should I give this guy? You know what? Let's try giving him a Scottish accent. Let him come live in Sharpton, I heard Andre. Oh no, Andre kind of sounds like a Russian name, though. Really? It kind of sounds like a Russian name, right? Andre, alright. Let him come live in Sharpton, I heard Andre say in his foreign accent. Downtown is no place for him. Downtown? The cesspit of the tri-state? The side of the city where sin and violence reign supreme. I had no love for that place. In fact, I avoided it wherever I could. As did any sensible citizen. Yes, things have changed now. This I promise, Andre said. I couldn't catch the rest of the conversation as more and more people walked in, waiting their turn behind me on the coffee machine. Once my coffee was ready, I started heading for the cubicles, but I was stopped by the very man I was listening in on a few seconds ago. Oh, hello! Good morning, I croaked. You stay in office until late sometimes. Do you stay tonight? It was true that I did stay late sometimes, and usually Andre was the only person I ever saw in the building at those hours. Why are you asking? I inquired. I guess Andre was a bit uncomfortable, although he didn't show it. You know security was compromised, he asked me. I stared at him in surprise. How do you know this? The janitor of all people, I thought. If he knows, everybody knows. For any Russian people who are listening to this, I sincerely apologize for my bad Russian accent. I'm sorry. It's better than the Scottish one I was attempting earlier. He smiled and said, "Is no secret. I ask because I want no trouble, so I want you to stay overtime together." It's kind of wait. I think I kind of predicted that he sounds a bit Russian, right? Because even the way they write it sounds like it's Russian. Word must have gotten out if stuff was posted online. I reflected. Nothing my boss or I could do about it. I was thinking this at the same time I was trying to understand what Andre was saying. After a few moments, I said, You want me to stay with you so you don't remain alone in this building?" "Yes," he said, still smiling, polite. "Yes." Andre was one of those people that had keys to the building. Often he was the first one to arrive to open the doors in the morning. Often he was the last to leave, locking them at night. "No problem," I said. "I'll stay tonight. Talk to you later." "Okay. Thank you, Ian." I love Andre. Oh, I like Andre. I like voicing him too. Devs, if you're listening, cast me as Andre. I am a voice actor. Although these days, been kind of more focused on streaming. So forgive. I'm trying to put as. I'm not trying to read with as much vigor, but I'm still putting a little bit of effort into it. So. Let me take a drink first. As soon as I turned to head for my desk, I started to process all the new information. Things have changed, that's what I heard him say on the phone. Now he wanted to do overtime only with me to cover his rear. If he had a hand in the leak, would he not have quit the job already? But wouldn't that be suspicious? He'd be hounded by Daikon, so instead of quitting, he'd just lay low and cover his tracks like he does now. Andre had a certain quality about him that distinguished him from other janitors that I'd seen. Sweeping floors, polishing door handles, and cleaning air vents was his job. It was a job that anyone could do, yet he did it with an expertise and vigor that stood out in an odd way to me. I'll have to keep an eye on him. Hey, don't mistrust Andre. Andre's a good guy. It was raining steadily outside, even though the sky was not cloudy. I began walking to my cubicle, one hand in my pocket, the other carrying my coffee and briefcase. Passing by Mike's desk, I saw him hunched over his keyboard, eyes glued to the screen. I forgot what voice I gave Mike. Hold on.
So tired of these fake influencers on live review. We get it, you have 200 followers, whooped it. Ian, you didn't hear what I just said? Never mind, why don't you tell me anything? Why didn't you tell me anything? He knows!
About the leak? I inquired, keeping my cool.
Yeah, there are rumors.
I nodded. I know. I lowered my voice so only he could hear me. I didn't tell you because boss told me not to tell anybody. Had no choice. It's delicate. You understand?
Well, you put it like that,
he murmured. I thought he sounded somewhat nervous. It seemed like he wanted to say something else on the subject but never got the chance, as Ken popped out of nowhere. You all heard? The company product was leaked online.
Yeah, you bet we heard. Everyone and their mother knows by now.
I wouldn't be surprised if Daikon's a laughingstock by now, I sighed. Don't count on it. Post of the leak got taken down pretty quick. Not many people other than us spread about what's up. Still,
Daikon stock dropped by 11% last night. That's a pretty rough dip.
How the hell did that happen? We're what, 40 people working on this damn encryption and we still get hacked? I shrugged, wishing Ken would keep his voice down. I kind of hope he wasn't smart enough to figure out that, since we worked in a closed circuit, the leaker was most certainly one of us. It could even be him, and he was playing dumb now to throw us off. Either way, it was only a matter of time till people in the office wised up and realized that the leaker was among us. Oh, among us! Among us! Hold on. Let me save. Save right here. Okay, now where was I? I had to deal with someone knocking on my door. We back! Ken, oh. My father knows about this. Whoever find who hacked us, our firm's gonna sue them out of existence. I'd sure like to see that, I mumbled, as Ken began to walk away.
Anyway, gotta go,
Mike said.
Have to see what we can do to contain this dumpster fire.
When I returned back to my office desk, I resolved to put my coding work aside and do some digging around. Nobody was looking at me. The people of the office were busy with their work, or just slacking off, chatting with each other idly. Fine by me. The realization that everyone in this office was a potential suspect hit me slowly. Everyone, without exceptions. Mike was one of the prime suspects. He was without a doubt one of the best coders, if not the best. In the job interview with Daikon that got him hired, he hacked the company. He did it once, why not do it again? He did appear to want to douse the flames. Perhaps it wasn't him after all. The information about him I currently possessed was insufficient for me to make a fair call. Well, all the speculation wouldn't do much help. It was time to take action. With a rather heavy heart, I decided it was time to hack Mike. His full name, Mike Millen. Born 16th of July 1991. He's been using his YouTube account for years now to comment on videos. He likes to get into arguments on the internet. It seems one may call him a keyboard warrior even. He views songs and video clips from anime and similar media daily. He likes both popular shows and shows that everybody knows of, and rare ones that I've never even heard of before. That is, so far, what I've come to learn about him through his work email, for which I have the password already. I'm willing to bet he's an otaku. Let's just say I know a thing or two about anime as well, so I'm able to spot an otaku in the wild. Moving on. He went to the Farborough College of Digital Engineering, invite only, top-notch education in our field and in general, in one of the better suburbs of the city. The college yearbook pictures show a Mike that has more pimples and longer hair than the present-day Mike. Had to admit, it was fun seeing what he looked like back in his college days. He must have been quite the frat bro that skipped all parties to study. If there were any parties in a college where everyone's a coder to begin with. Oddly, I found myself relating to him because of those photos. It was now harder for me to see him in a negative light. To figure out if he was an only child, I did some digging through all the city's college records for the same year Mike went in, and also for the 5 years before and after he was done with his education. Now that might seem like going too far with the detective work, but that didn't even nearly reach the full extent to which I was determined to go in order to get some answers. Well, it was total waste of time anyway. The name Millen never came up again on the search. It is likely he really is an only child. Running his name on Google search, I discovered that he doesn't really use any social media aside from YouTube, or so it seems. So there is no more source of information about him I could find. Funny that they changed YouTube to YouTube, but still kept Google. And then they have browsers named after vegetables like turnip. Though he may have been using a life review, since he mentioned earlier, but no luck. He wasn't the type to plaster selfies on his profile wall all day long anyway, so he had no business in a site like that. I'm going to dig deeper online and see what I can find. His work email's password doesn't work on his YouTube account, nor on his SourceBucket account. Obviously, he's using different passwords for all of these different accounts. I wouldn't expect any less from someone who went to that kind of college he did. Looks like a dead end. This is gonna get spicy from here on out, because I'm going to try and brute force his password. Usually, brute forcing means I'd have to try and guess what password someone may be using by combining keywords and numbers like the person's date of birth, favorite pet, childhood friend, and all that, or using such information to correctly answer a security question when trying to recover an account's password. If you guys have seen my Detroit Become Human playthrough, I love Hank's password. Just type fucking password as your password. Truly the oldest trick in the golden book of hacking. But I have a tool that does the lockpicking for me. What I have to do is dump the keywords in and wait. I waited for half an hour and the program was still running, computing advanced combinations of letters and numbers. The password results became increasingly complicated, and all inputs were rejected one after the other. Either I was missing vital keywords, I still did not know the names of his pet, if he ever had one, his family or friends, or if he was one of those people that use a completely random string of letters, words, and numbers for passwords. A hallmark of a careful, seasoned hacker indeed. Brute forcing was a failure for the time being, but it was worth a try. Best thing to do now was to let the password cracking tool run in the background and move on to some other things. More specifically, I required more keywords to go on. I had an idea. I got up from my desk and headed for the elevator. There was a way to find out more precious keywords. In fact, it was possible for me to find out entire passwords like passwords Mike was using right away. I had to gain control of Mike's computer. Through the server room console on the 22nd floor, I had access to all the PCs in the building and their operation logs. Being the master of the server sure had its advantages. This is how I'd gotten the password of his work email in the first place. Oh shit, that's his password? How would you even remember that as your work password? Zeroh GXH2LAPQL53. I wouldn't even remember that. I would be like locked out of my work PC. If Mike had ever signed into his personal email, the action would be cataloged and his password would be in full view. Looking through those records took time, so I never pried on other computers for too long, as the console's logs were being watched by the higher echelons of the company, so to speak. Speaking of the higher echelons of the company, Hope from accounting department entered the elevator and stared me down with an inquisitive gaze. She seemed like a delicate woman, judging by how well she was taking care of her appearance. Her nails in particular, which weren't fake. I knew her to be meticulous in her job from the times I had to interact with her. Perhaps overly so, since she fussed about the details that were of no concern to me. The most recent example being which place was the correct place to have your umbrella after entering the office. The right place for employees to put their umbrella was in the lobby, near the secretary's counter, right next to the big sign that read Daikon Industries. Well, my umbrella was special, and its right place was under my desk. Same. I wasn't certain why, but the thing that always stood out to me about her was the tattoo on her hand, a red heart caught in the middle of a spider web. It was such a glaring contradiction to her usually rigid and professional persona. I could never imagine the Hope I personally knew getting this tattoo, or any tattoo for that matter. People who get that kind of tattoo often don't stop at one. And now I found myself wondering what other tattoo she had. Oh, as soon as she entered, she pressed the button for her floor, got the phone that was never far from her out of her pocket and started fiddling with it. Her long, well-groomed red nails clicking on the screen as she tapped it deftly. "You're not going to the server room, are you?" Yes, I decided to give her that voice. She asked curtly without raising her eyes from her phone screen. I hadn't even pressed the button yet, and she knew. The doors closed and the elevators began to descend. "I am," I said. I'm certain I sounded more weary than I would like. "Don't bother," she said. "It's in lockdown." I frowned. They usually warn me of these things beforehand. Lockdown? How come I didn't know anything about any lockdown? "That truly is a mystery," she said snidely. I sighed and pressed the button of the 14th floor where my office was. Several times, like the elevator would take me back faster if I did. Lockdown. What for even? I mumbled, making my irritation obvious. She put her phone away to look at me. "The leak got management worried. Bauer's looking over every archive right now." So he's already doing what I was going there. He's already doing what I was going there to do. Neat, I said, somewhat serious, somewhat flippant, mostly flippant. Hope threw me a smirk as she stepped out of the elevator on the top floor, and with that, she was off to her own business. I had no choice but to head back to my desk. The trip to the server room would have to wait. As night fell, so did silence in the office. One by one, employees from the 14th floor left for home, finished for the day. One by one, the lights in every cubicle were put out. Every cubicle but mine. I had my face buried in my arms for a long time. When I finally raised my head, it was like I just woke up from deep slumber. I could barely remember what I had been working on for the past few hours. The logs, right. I remembered now. I'd spent the evening reviewing logs of activity from months back of anything suspicious, in vain, while waiting for my password cracking tool to untie the knot of Mike's password. Bauer had left the building hours ago, leaving the server room in lockdown. Still nothing I could do on that front. I made my way to the bottom of the 4th cup of coffee of the day and toiled beside my anxiety and fear. And as I worked in silence, Andre appeared out of nowhere and nearly scared me off my chair. Hello! Damn! I leaned forward slightly to cover my computer screen as discreetly as I could, but he was not looking at my screen anyway. Not that he'd seen anything but my open browser. Hey Andre, I croaked.
How was your work today? Good?
The lockpick program still operated in the background. So-and-so, I replied. In truth, it was a day full of fruitless, thankless work. I'll be going home soon. Are you done around here?
Not yet. I work overtime for Mr. Bauer.
I gave him a tired smile. Mouths to feed?
My nephew Ignacy and his mother. I do best I can.
I nodded in understanding. I have family to take care of too, so I know what it's like.
Family, Andre said.
Yeah, my sister Vivi, I paused. She's sick, so I'll have to provide for her as much as I can. I wouldn't share any of this under normal circumstances. Not that it was a secret around the office. It was just too personal for me to make conversation with, and it wasn't the custom to talk about unpleasant things like that. And yet I felt genuine sympathy from the man before me, so it just came out.
You do best you can, he said. I hope she becomes well.
Some gladness found its way into my heart. I smiled at him. Thanks. I reached over my desk to one of the little stacked cards with my number that I had and I gave it to him. Listen, Andre, if you ever need someone to fix you or your nephew's computer, just call me. I'm the man for the job. He took the card after glancing at it briefly.
I am not so much on the computer. Ignacy, maybe.
Sure, I said. You know, this is how I scraped by since early high school. I must have fixed hundreds of PCs by now, I chuckled.
I'm no good with that. Okay, I call you if there is problem.
Alright then, I said, getting up from the chair. I'll be off for the night.
You go now. I can't go yet. Can you stay a little longer?
I really can't, I said, as apologetically as I could. With one hand I took my coat off the rack behind me, and with the other, I shut down my work PC and all the programs running there. I've been at it since 8 in the morning.
Okay, good night.
I closed shut my suitcase and grabbed my umbrella from beneath my desk. Have a good one. It had rained and poured all day, a sudden welcome change from the midsummer heat that we all baked in for months. I could feel the chill of the air on my cheeks for the moment I stepped outside. The cold breath of the night swept the street. I like the sound effects in the background, the cars passing by. You guys could hear it from most of the scenes. It's very nice. It gives a feel that this building is in the middle of a city. Big props to the people who look for the sound and the art style. I really like the way they illustrated the backgrounds too. That special hour of the day had arrived. It was time to leave all the worries of work behind, locked away in the building of my place of work. What awaited me now was the comfort of my home, a hot shower, and noodles for dinner. Before I started my walk home, I glimpsed a dark gray muscle car with silver plates. I think it was an Evian, parked under a streetlight on the opposite side of the road. Its lights were out and the engine switched off, but I could see a shadow inside beyond dark orange tinted windows. It made me raise an eyebrow. You didn't usually see that kind of car in the boulevards of Palamo. What you'd expect to see were the cars of working class people that lived in the area. I was too tired to pay more attention to it. It was quite late in the night, 10 p.m., yet the roads and the sidewalks were still pretty much full. The city was alive even during this hour, with all its lights and busy streets, loud music blaring from somewhere, most likely a club in every block. I stopped to wait for a red light on a pedestrian crossing, one hand warming in my coat's pocket, the other out in the biting cold holding my suitcase. A group of young students stood beside me, headed home after a Saturday's night out. They were chirping with each other cheerfully as they waited to cross. I was washed with a wave of nostalgia, looking at them. To be a child, carefree again, free of the soul-crushing wheel of working routine each day. Damn, I miss those days. The responsibility of fending for myself and my sister had grated me the moment I was done with school. The good times of my childhood were long gone. Even though I was not really much older than those kids on the sidewalk, the sight of them got me reminiscing the glamour of a bygone age, so to speak. Much like certain people do for the fabled 90s. 90s kids. And what was better, to grow up, assume responsibility and a bitter burden, or to remain in the stage of life where everything is simple and the biggest concern is to have fun? I couldn't find the answer. At least, not right now. But one thing was clear and certain to me. There was no use thinking of going back. There was no going back. Only forward. You're thinking of such profound things while crossing the sidewalk, man. The light turned green and the group of chattering students moved across. I didn't move. Absorbed by my thoughts, I just stood still. It's Sunday tomorrow. No work! Oh yes. The best feeling. When you get to sleep in and knowing that there's no work tomorrow. Typically the notion would bring me more relief than it did now. I would not go to work, true, but work followed me home. There were still things left to do. I scrambled to find a way into Mike's emails, but it was like the man himself stood in the way. Impassable. A big guy, like a wall. He knew what he was doing. I must be careful. I walked forward.